Welcome to Corporate Competitor Podcast. The premise of this show is to learn how sports shape today's business icons. I've sat down with some incredible executives, like the president of Black Entertainment Television Media, Louis Carr, who ran track at Drake, Topgolf CEO Dolph Burley, who is a world champion pole vaulter, and the highest ranking woman in the oil drilling industry, Kim McHugh, who played volleyball at Texas A&M. But for this World Series Weekend Special Edition episode, I bring you two-time World Series champion and my co-author, David Ross.
When you're constantly looking at yourself and how you're going to benefit from things, you don't look at the big picture and what's best for the group.
David spent most of his 15-year career in the major leagues as a backup catcher. But when he learned how to become a great teammate, his career doubled in length and he had the opportunity to win 2 World Series championships. We wrote a New York Times best-selling book together that teaches each of us how to develop as better teammates and create environments that recognize and celebrate those people who can become invaluable without ever being most valuable. I teach the lessons learned while working with David to corporate audiences today, athletic teams as well, and was recently honored to be asked by the captain of one of America's most powerful nuclear submarines, the USS Florida, to speak with his leadership about what it would take to be a great shipmate. After the speech, the most incredible thing happened. The chief and crew made their own version of the list that David had created and titled it, "What Makes a Great Shipmate?" They used the same characteristics as David did, then customized the definition of each trait to be specific to their submarine. Then they posted the list around the sub and reported back to us that the results were incredible. David Ross was so honored that they were applying his lessons while protecting our country that he came to my home studio to record a thank you message and to expand on the lessons for the captain and crew. I'm Don Yeager, and this is the Corporate Competitor Podcast, Special Edition.
Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series. Bryant makes the play. It's over. And the
The number one lesson was the importance of humility, the willingness to not think less of yourself, just think of yourself less often, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these things that we'll find or will kind of come back around, they all kind of relate to each other, and like accountability and unselfishness. But for me, being humble and how I was raised is kind of where my connection with others, just being able to be the person that doesn't have to be the leader and is okay with just taking a step back and listening to others and their point of view. And the more we're able to listen, I think we can understand where the other person's coming from. It may not change our views, but it helps us understand. And being humble, I think, lets people in. I think it draws people to you. And the person that always has to be first in line and leading the group, there are those people, but I think leadership can come from just being the guy that listens to others. And a lot of people have problems, and not everybody's going to see things the same way. So goes a lot along with unselfishness, right? Like being able to give yourself to others unconditionally and be genuine in that moment.
You know, and the flip side is selfishness, and I've heard you say this line, including with the Alabama football team when we were there not long ago, when you said, selfishness is the root of evil.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was frighteningly biblical at the same time.
I think I may have heard it in church. Maybe one of those things where I pull it from. But yeah, when you're constantly looking at yourself and how you're going to benefit from things, you don't look at the big picture and what's best for the group. And I know that sounds easy, but some of us, we're just selfish to the core. I think as human beings, it's naturally to look for what benefits us first. And when you can take that and kind of get rid of that as best you can and look what's best for the group, it just comes along with winning. I've been a part of some winning teams and some special moments, and it creates a brotherhood and a love that you go through throughout a season as far as baseball is concerned that allows you to have a connection with somebody that is stronger than just a friendship. It's that, you know, kind of brotherly thing when you're on a team. Because when you're selfish, you just see it over and over again. As much as we play 162 games plus playoffs in baseball, a lot of the bad qualities can come out in the human being. So when you see unselfishness and you're being able to be humble, you're going to be able to connect and be a part of something special when you're in those big groups, especially.
If you are predisposed, you call it human nature, right, to think first of self, how do you transition to, or how do you gain humility short of being humbled? I mean, is there a way to, is there some thought process to that?
I think not. I think as, you know, whether we're getting maybe a little bit talking to or a stern lesson that's being given to us, I think naturally we want to put up our dukes and defend ourselves, right? Taking that unselfishness, that humility of being able to listen and really self-absorb, analyze yourself first, look at how you affected situations first is the key for me. I always try to look at when things are going wrong, especially like, what have I done? How am I contributing to the problem? Because when we can look at ourselves first and fix us, then we're able to get outside of ourselves and maybe help the others. But if we're trying to help everybody else.
In the book, you mentioned a story about when you were in Boston, the idea that there was actually a moment where a high-priced addition comes to the roster, you know, big name, blah, 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 but they're not quite playing the game the same way that you all had been all season long, and that desire to put self and what they wanted out of an at-bat ahead of what the team needed in an at-bat, didn't leave you as a memory.
Yeah.
Can you share that first and then talk about like how does that affect team chemistry?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, go back and telling the story first, like 2013, we created a way that we came to work as a unit. And we were going to try to defeat that pitcher with every weapon we possibly had. And it was a group effort. Everybody had bought into what we were doing, grinding at bats, seeing pitches, having a plan against that pitcher that day or that team. And we ended up winning the World Series. We was a very tight-knit group. A lot had gone on with the bombing in 13, so we became really close. In 14, we got some outside. We had a couple free agents, which always happens, and it's going to happen on a ship and or a submarine, and things are going to change. But when you create a culture that other people will come into and they must buy in, that's what you want to create. And we had a guy that, unfortunately, with the resume he had and the money he was making, he felt like he didn't have to buy in. So it creates this problem where as soon as this machine, this well-oiled machine is working and we're grinding at bats and grinding bats to get that spot in his lineup, it's a rollover double play first pitch, that messes up the whole system. Now everybody's going, wait a minute, why is he not bought in? Well, if he's not bought in, why do I have to buy in? And now everybody, then the selfishness starts to grow. We got one bad apple, that one bad seed can poison the whole group just from their actions and their selfishness. So it was a big thing that stood out, and we ended up going back to last place in 2014 because of just some early on that chemistry. It doesn't form well because when there's that one selfish person in the at-bat trying to get theirs and trying to get their money or trying to get whatever your motives are, it just you see it day in and day.
If the motive is not team driven,
it's going to be poison. It's going to be poison, and that goes back to the selfishness. When we're always worried about ourselves and how we're going to benefit from it, then I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter whether you're the star on the team or the 25th guy. If you're part of winning, everybody wants winners. Everybody wants great teammates. Everybody wants those people that have been a part of success around, because not everybody has had success, and success is hard to obtain.
Mm-hmm. The second of the characteristics that you had identified as you were thinking through great teammates and what the ones you had experienced and those that you had grown to understand was the willingness to be fully engaged, that even if you were in a role where you weren't being asked to play, you were still engaged in the moment. That if somebody needed you, it wasn't like you were coming in from a fog. That's a truism, right?
It's so important. One of my pet peeves on the bench are the people that check out and go in the locker room and grab a snack, or get them, the pitchers are doing their work, or get a massage. And it's like, how can you be a part of a group? I'll tell you a funny story. It's go back to extra innings. We're in 2016 with the Cubs. We won the World Series this year. We had clinched a postseason berth. We were the best team in baseball. We were going to the postseason. Had already clinched, and we're playing division rival in Milwaukee Brewers. It's a day game. And we got a travel day after we're traveling after the game to another city. We're going into the 15th inning, and I'm looking around on the bench, and they're coming up to bat, and look around the bench, and nobody's there. I mean, literally, it's the coaching staff and not one other player except myself. And all our stars were still in the game in the 15th inning. I mean, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Jason Hayward, all these guys are still in the game, the high-priced profiled players. And so I just look around like, where is everybody? So I walk up, and as I'm walking, it's a little bit of a walk to the locker room. As I'm walking up, I'm starting to get a little heated, like, where the F is everybody? Like, we got a ball game going on. And I walk in, and it's veteran after veteran after veteran sitting there, a couple of them hanging out, just shooting the breeze. There was a guy from the front office in there just hanging out. We had a couple rookies, and I just lost it. I lost as I'm scanning the room, I'm getting madder and madder, and I just come in with, "What the is that you doing in here?" And I found a rookie, thank goodness, because you can't really blow up the veterans, right? You got to leave those guys alone. But I was needed to tell a story in my actions and what was expected, and I yelled at this young pitcher, had already been in the game, taking off his uni and just chilling in his locker, and I'm like, "Rob Z, what the heck are you doing? Get your uni on and get on the bit. These guys are grinding out here. This guy's been grinding for 155 games, and you're in here just chilling, watching it on TV." I was like, "They need your energy. They need your support. We're trying to win a freaking ball game, and you're in here hanging out like it doesn't matter, Those are stars out there. It's not like it was the B guys called up from AAA. These are our superstars out there grinding away at bat that don't really matter. We're already going to the postseason." And it just hit me the wrong way. And sure enough, guys start scrambling. Veterans are putting their jerseys back on. Rob Z later tells me the story. It was hilarious to hear his perspective. I just walked out right after that. I just ripped everybody and walked out. And he said he had already thrown his jersey in the locker, in the washing machine. So he was trying to find something to put on. And it was pretty crazy. So lo and behold, the whole team back on the bench. We get up to bat, base hit, game over. We win. Like, just the energy and support from your teammates goes a long way. When you're grinding and you're in the 15th inning and you come off to get your at-bats and everybody's in there like, "Hey, let's go, boys." Like, that energy goes a long way. That support of your family, the guys that you're going to battle with, the guys you care about and you've been through this long journey with, that little bit of support goes a long way, and it showed in that moment. So to be somebody who's engaged and just giving somebody your energy, or, "Hey, I hope you're having a great day," checking in, like, those things go a long way when you're on a team and in a, this journey of, maybe gone for 6 months, or we start middle of February and go all the way to the 1st of November if you win the World Series. So that's an 8.5, 9-month journey there that you're on with this small 25, 30 group of guys. And it's important for support and energy and to know guys you're engaged and not just one person checked out, for me.
Of all the statistics and of all the things that I remember as we were working together that really stood out to me when I was trying to track and understand your career was that 4-year window in Atlanta, right? When 400 times, that number really amazed me, right? 400 games over a 4-year window, you dressed out, you were ready, and were not even asked to leave the bench.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Crazy, right?
Right? But you had committed yourself to not being up there, not sitting in the corner complaining about the fact that the boss wasn't recognizing you for your talent. Just you were committed to being in your place to be supportive of the roster.
And I think, going back and talk, Brian McCann was the other catcher on that team, and superstar. I mean, All-Star 6 times, Silver Slugger 6 times, I believe. I mean, the guy's a stud. So backing up, but how are you going to learn or know what's going on in your daily work life if you never really check in and observe the little things and the details? The details are in the winning. You hear that from every person that's been a part of winning. It's the little things that matter. And Brian still tells, he goes, I'll never forget when I came off the field, every single inning you were there with a high five. Like that means a lot, I think, from him. And vice versa. I've been on teams where guys aren't there, and I've got some stories about like some guys in Boston that we had clinched in 13, and I had my day to play a day game, and guys were on the bench, and I went and found them in the locker room again and said, what the heck, I'm here every day supporting you on the bench, and the day that I get to play, when you think our season's over to the playoffs, and I get to play, you're not out there supporting me. I'm there supporting you every day. So now, in turn of calling somebody out, it holds me accountable. We talk about accountability a lot. Like, you start calling people out and you start creating these expectations, now it's back on me too. Like, it's going to get me back in that dugout every single time when I want to go up there and grab there was this cheese machine in Atlanta. I love this warm nacho cheese machine I wanted to go get. But sometimes you got to pick that moment up there to go get a couple nachos, So, anyways.
Although, you talked in Atlanta, you talked about Bobby Cox being as engaged as any leader you've ever seen, specifically around the need to be present and be engaged and all that. Tell me, is some lesson from Bobby?
I tell you what, Bobby showed me. One, I tell you, Bobby Cox, just a great man, and I got a couple of great stories. I was facing Roy Halladay, and he was carving me up on the day game, and I was giving McCann a day off in Atlanta. It was super hot, and I think I was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. I don't even know if I fouled a ball off. And after my last strikeout, I'm walking back, just feeling terrible about myself, dragging my bat back to the dugout, and Bobby passed me on the butt as I walked by him. He's like, he looks pretty nasty out there today, Rossi. And like stood out to me, oh yeah, maybe I'm not as bad as I thought. Maybe that guy's really good, So he had a way of like really just turning things to really not so negative. We tend to beat ourselves down in moments where we make mistakes or feel like we're failing, and baseball's such a game of failure that positivity goes a long way, especially from your leader and the head guy. He would always come in, this is Bobby's little saying, he'd come in the food room every once in a while. He'd run into you. I hadn't played in like five days, and we'd run into him, like, hey, Rossi, way to go. Like, way to go. And he'd just walk off, like, what did I do? Well, the manager likes me, like I'm in a good place with the manager. So that it just went a really long way. And then there was another game. We're sitting on the bench, and we were getting our brains beat in. It's like literally like 8-0 in the second. I mean, game's over. The last out was made, and Bobby had his little lineup card in his hand. The last out was made, and he like dropped an F-bomb, like threw his card down, and walked in. And I'm like, man, I've been checked out since the third. Our manager's been grinding for this team mentally, like we're going to come back and win this game. And it showed me his concentration level, his commitment to the group, where his head's at constantly, that he's still in this game waiting for any edge to take advantage of the mistake of the opponent. And it stood out to me, just like this guy was grinding all the way to the end where I was checked out and punting on this game. We play at 162. I'm like, well, this one's over. We had a bad start, and you turn his page really fast, and he didn't. And it just stood out to me, his commitment to the group and not cashing it in early.
Yeah. And so that one does. I mean, I love your point at the very beginning. All of these, in their own way, they all kind of do weave together, right? I mean, these aren't like 16 individual, like
right.
You got to work on this one and then this one. The truth is that each one finds its way to intertwine.
Kind of piggyback on each other.
Right. Yeah. And so the next that we had was the need and the willingness to be encouraging of your teammates.
Yeah, I think the easiest thing to do in human beings in the workplace is find the negative, right? Like we're trying to make everybody perfect, and it's just not possible. So I just think a positive word or just finding the positive in a negative situation sometimes can just be that simple of helping somebody get over their mistakes and learning from their mistakes of just like, I get where your head was at. This is what we did wrong, but look what may have come of it. Because if the goal in the end is to be the best, and in baseball, it's, there's such a long journey of a 6-month season that right, midway through or in May, somebody makes a mistake. Well, let's teach and learn from that. Let's find the positives in it, and then find how we're going to be better from it, right? Like try to learn from that. Obviously, learn from your mistakes, but the best lessons I've learned are from the mistakes I've made and the failures I've had. So finding those moments and being encouraging in them, I think, stand out a little more to people, because it's so easy to find the fault and when we do wrong. And that's just natural. And I think in baseball specifically, where it's a negative sport, it's always failure. 3 out of 7, you're Hall of Fame. 3 out of 10, I mean, failing 7 times at the plate, and over and over again, you're gonna strike out or ground out or pop up, and it's just pitchers are gonna get hit around. Things are gonna happen. It's a hard game, and so to find the positives to keep building on to try to win a championship were key in baseball for me. We know how much the mental side is.
The mental side matters. This does play right into the next one, which was that, if you've done this, you've been humble and you've stayed engaged and you've done, that you're then, and you've been encouraging, then they'll take the truth from you when the truth isn't always nice, right? They'll hear you differently. If you walked in with just criticism all the time, or if you led with criticism, if those other steps weren't really done, the ability to speak truth to others might seem more hollow and
well, and I think that's the first thing I want to go back to is the humble. And I changed a lot. I played 8 for different teams. Like I was always trying to come in and reestablish myself and who I was, and you have to gain that trust, right? And until you gain that trust and lift guys up and know that it's just not about criticism, you can't really speak that truth without, I think naturally we were talking about putting up the Dukes earlier, right? So coming in, establishing a friendship, getting to know somebody on a personal level, engaging each person. When I came into the locker room each day, I just had a routine where I walked in, I went to the trainer's room, said, hey, how we doing? Just how you doing? PJ, the trainer, massage therapist, whoever's in there, how we doing? Went to the food room, went to the strength and conditioning room, then the locker room. Just made sure I touched everybody every single day. Just saying hello, I think, gives you a simple, what kind of body language am I getting back from this person? Are they really negative? Are they in their little shell? Like, what kind of energy am I getting from this person? And that maybe helped me navigate the day with them if I needed to tell some real truths or some hard truths. A guy that really wasn't very engaging early on in the day, maybe I put my arm around him and say, hey, how are you when we're sitting on the bench, and how's things? Maybe there's some trouble at home. Maybe him and his wife got in an argument. Maybe the kids are tough. He's not getting a lot of sleep. There's a lot that are going on in people's lives, and if you don't engage them and touch them and talk to them and gain that trust and that friendship, then it's hard to give them those real truths because they don't know where it's coming from. I remember after I hit the home run, I hit the home run in Game 7 off Andrew Miller. I come back in, I'm putting my shin guards on, and we're back up 3. We were up 4 before I came in. Go back up 3. I put my shin guards on. Everybody's coming to me like, "You just went deep in Game 7 of the World Series." I'm like, "Shut your mouth! I've got a job to do. Like, I don't want that in my head. Like, I'll celebrate all that as soon as this is over, but we got a long ways to go, you know." So it really is like it's easy to get outside yourself, and a lot of times you're gonna be pulled from other people, but you got to stay in the moment. Try to stay focused on doing your job until, at least for the baseball, you've got such a small window there. It's hard to think focus and concentration. That's another thing that we lack and we don't talk about. Like, I'm gonna need your attention, full attention, for 3.5 hours. Can you focus for that long? I think that's another thing that kind of wavers at times. If we can't focus for 3.5, 4 hours, do our job, lock in on every detail of this game, and then we'll worry about the rest afterwards. But yeah, let's
do
get
that,
back to
as you said, 162 times.
It's hard.
I think that's what makes baseball so interesting to me. To me, it's the most lifelike of all sports. You're enormously successful if you only lose 60 times in a year.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like, yes, you might be the best team in the entire major leagues.
Sure.
If you only lose 60 times.
Right.
And like those kinds of things are crazy to me.
And that comes to, we're talking a little bit about the mental side of it.
Right.
When you do something for so long, and just like being in a submarine and out to sea for a long time. I mean, you're an extended period of time, so everybody's personality is going to come out good and bad, right? So you're gonna have to really have a conscious commitment to focus on the group, to be a guy that checks his ego at the door every single day and comes to work with, hopefully a smile on your face and in a good mood. And yeah, right. Like, this is attention to detail and how I'm coming to work. Yeah, I think it's important, and especially like you said, 162. It does have that life feel of like everybody's going to go through some stuff, and it doesn't matter. One guy may be great for 1 month, and he may be in the crapper the next, right? Like, it just, hopefully it all evens out at the end, is what you're hoping in baseball. But I mean, it's definitely, you're right. A lot like life, you go get a lot of pun intended curveballs thrown at you.
There's going to be moments where you just got to be. You may have imagined this was going to be your role today. Right. And then suddenly things change and your role changes.
Being ready is important just from, we don't know, it could be injuries, right? Like the other catcher goes down. If I didn't do the scouting report and I'm not playing that day, like, wait a minute, am I not prepared? Now I'm in the game, and now everything is coming back to me, right? And now I don't feel prepared. I'm kind of winging it, which never is good, right? If you want to be successful, winging it is not really an option. So I think just, again, that goes back to paying attention and then routine, finding your daily routine of how you prep. Maybe one day I'm playing, maybe I'm not. It's 2 different days of prepping, but I've always gone through the steps just in case I get in there. I watched the video on the opposing pitcher. I went in the scouting report. I got myself ready to play just in case. I think having that mindset creates, an example for the younger guys. I think there's just so much good in routine that happens. I'm prepared, I'm ready, I can relax in the moment, I can give myself to other people, I give my emotion to others. Being prepared is almost the basis of a lot of this stuff we're going to talk about, because you can't give to others unless you feel secure in being ready. And as a veteran, it's a little easier because the things, I knew my routine, but I can't give myself and check in with everybody if I haven't done my routine and not ready. Because then what's it going to look like if I do get a moment, and I do get a big moment, and I'm not prepared? Then I'm going to look like, I'm going to like, well, this guy always talks about this, but he's not backing it up.
That's that
hypocritical. And that's that accountability that just calling people out almost makes you fall into that routine for yourself.
You lose everything
you
built.
All that that's right. Build. That's right.
Because a lot of times we think being a great teammate is all about the hugs and the back butts and all the other. But you made a great point that don't ever mistake my desire to be a great teammate for my failure to want to win.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a competitor. I do all this because it's good for the team, but I do all this because it's good for the team to win.
There you go.
Right?
And Dave Roberts told me, go back to, great examples. He was one of the nicest human beings you ever want to run into, but that's exactly what he said. Don't mistake kindness for weakness, and don't think I'm a dummy. Don't think I'm just here to pat everybody on the back and there's no substance to me. I do these things, and I am checking in with everybody because I want to win really bad. I want to be great. I want to make history. I want to hold up that trophy, right? I want to be talked about for years to come. Like, yeah, and this all plays into it.
As you said, all of this is intentional to take you someplace. Right. This isn't just a feel-good conversation.
No doubt. These are moments, and there's a lot of times I get into, when I first came out, we used to bury rookies when they come up. You just treat them like crap, and you tell them they stink at this. You like literally treat them like bad human beings. And I realized once, and everybody will tell a story, like I remember somebody treat me like that. I'd say I'd never do that to a guy, and that's kind of how we've evolved. But I get into, like, you need every dude on the team to win. I need the rookie to be good. I need him to feel good about himself when he's in the box. I don't want to beat him down. I need him to, if I want to win a championship, he's a better player than I am. Why am I beating him down? We need the group. So putting down others and doing that's just, again, going into that negative energy you're bringing into the group. And if it's all about winning, if it's all about the W, then successful people go a long way because everybody wants them. Everybody wants to be a part of success. Be a part of winning, everybody wants you.
Right.
We've had fun, we're joking around the locker room, music's up loud, we're jamming, but okay, I put my cleats on, that's right. Doors shut, let's do this, right? Time to play. I left the locker room ready to go.
I thank you, brother. Thanks for teaching us how to be a great teammate, and thanks for all the time spent prepping people to be better in whatever they're going to do. And
Yes, thank you guys. Thanks for believing in me and trusting these great lessons I've learned. I appreciate it.
For a free downloadable bookmark with all of today's lessons, visit the episode 14 page of corporatecompetitorpodcast.com. I've shared David's story with a number of corporate audiences, and the biggest takeaway is always this: you can become invaluable without ever being most valuable. Thanks for listening to the show. Did you like what you heard? If so, subscribe to the podcast. We will be rolling out a new episode every Wednesday, and you can be the first to listen. Subscribe on our website, corporatecompetitorpodcast.com, or by texting subscribe to 58885, and you will receive a free chapter of one of my best-selling books. While you're there, remember to join the Greatness community. For a free weekly leadership lesson, I write for Forbes.com and information on my live and virtual keynote speeches. Stay in touch by connecting with me on social media at Don Yeager on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Finally, are you a corporate competitor? If so, tell me the story about a time when your athletic experience taught you a leadership lesson you still use today. Until next week, I appreciate you.